We are just outside Rockhampton here, over First Turkey Mountain Bike Park, on the Mount Archer, or Newram, side of the city. What I like about this view is how quickly the city edge starts to fall away. One moment this is Norman Gardens and suburban Rockhampton. The next, the land begins turning into ridges, scrub, creek lines, and trails cut into the hillside. First Turkey is not really a single trail. It is a whole riding network, and that is the first thing the aerial view makes obvious. You can see the lines branching out, crossing back, climbing, dropping, and disappearing under the trees. Official Rockhampton tourism material describes First Turkey as the city's premier mountain bike trail network, with 33 trails across a mix of skill levels. Other riding sources describe the broader reserve as around 40 kilometers of trail across roughly 150 hectares. So the exact number depends on who is counting and when they counted, but the story is the same. This is a serious piece of riding country. From the ground, a rider feels this place one corner at a time. From above, you start to understand the whole shape of it. The tracks are not random scratches in the bush. They follow slope, drainage, rock, shade, access, and the simple logic of gravity. You can see why this works so well for mountain biking. There are open sections where the trail can move quickly, tighter corridors where the trees close in, rocky patches that ask more from the rider, and wider turns that let the whole line breathe for a moment. The main access sits around German Street, near Moores Creek, only a short drive from the Rockhampton CBD. That is part of the charm. It is close enough for an after-work lap, but once you are in the hills it does not feel like a small local loop. This is the kind of place that becomes part of a riding community's weekly rhythm. People learn trails here. They test themselves here. They bring mates here. And over time, the names, corners, climbs, and trouble spots start to become part of local language. Rocky MTB describes First Turkey as the home of mountain biking in Rockhampton. That feels right from the air. You can see the relationship between the town and the terrain. Close, practical, a little rough around the edges, and clearly used by people who know it well. The network includes gravity enduro and cross-country riding through varied terrain. That matters, because it means First Turkey is not built around only one kind of rider. There are trails here for learning, for fitness, for speed, for technical handling, and for the kind of riding where you finish a line already thinking about the next run. What stands out in this flight is the way the trails sit inside the land rather than floating above it. They bend with the hillside. They slip through the woodland. They use the natural fall of the country, then hand the rider into the next section. And that does not happen by accident. Trail networks like this are maintained by people. AUS Cycling has highlighted the work of Rockhampton MTB Club and volunteers at First Turkey, including trail rebuilding and community trail work. From the air, that effort is easy to miss unless you know what you are looking at. Look closely and you can see it in the lines. A turn that has been shaped. A corridor that has been cleared. A trail that holds together through changing ground. A descent that feels natural because someone spent the time making it rideable. That is the quiet part of mountain biking that often gets lost. The finished trail looks obvious, as if it was always meant to be there. But behind it are hours of planning, digging, clearing, repairing, waiting for weather, and coming back after weather has done what weather does. There is also something very central Queensland about this landscape. It is not soft or over-polished. The light is hard, the ground is textured, and the riding has that dry, rocky honesty to it. It tells you pretty quickly whether you are paying attention. From this perspective, the park becomes a kind of map of movement. The trails are the handwriting. The hillside is the page. Every line says something about how riders have learned to move through this country without flattening its character. The Moores Creek side gives the place a natural entry point, and then the trail network starts pulling away from town. That shift is what makes First Turkey feel bigger than its distance from Rockhampton suggests. You can imagine the rider's experience through here. The first climb warming the legs, the sound dropping away from the road, the bike starting to move with the ground, and then that first proper descent where the park reminds you why people keep coming back. For visitors, First Turkey is part of Rockhampton's outdoor identity. For locals, it is more personal than that. It is a place people maintain, ride, talk about, and measure themselves against. A trail network becomes valuable when it has both of those lives. That is why this kind of aerial footage is useful. It does not replace the rider's view, and it should not try to. What it does is show the pattern, the way a community-built riding area sits between suburb, creek country, hillside, and national park edge. There are moments in this flight where the best thing is just to let the camera move. The trails are already doing the explaining. They lead the eye through the frame, around the bends, over the rises, and into the next pocket of bush. But the story underneath is worth saying plainly. First Turkey works because the terrain is good, because Rockhampton is close, because the trails have variety, and because local riders and volunteers have kept shaping it into something people want to return to. So from above, this is more than a set of bike tracks. It is Rockhampton's mountain biking culture written into the side of Mount Archer. It is practical, local, evolving, and still growing. And by the end of the flight, that is the memory that sticks for me. First Turkey is close to town, but it gives riders the feeling of getting properly away. That is a rare combination, and you can see it clearly from up here.